Blog Talk Radio.
Yo, Bantam.
¿Cuál anda, Pelancho?
¿Qué es lo que está sonando por ahí?
Pardo vaina y que.
Acabo de llegar a mi país.
Suave, oye esa vaina.
Acabo de llegar a mi país. Uy, ¿y qué es lo que yo escucho por ahí? Rapeadores que están pegados, tan sonados. ¿Cómo va a ser? Con puro ritmo baiteado. Acabo de llegar a mi país. Uy, ¿y qué es lo que yo escucho por ahí? Rapeadores que están pegados, tan sonados. ¿Cómo va a ser? Con puro ritmo baiteado.
Ellos son pura copia, siempre fotocopia. El mismo ringtone, pero desde otro Nokia. Enredando a la gente con esa basofia. Así que flow de paquete y directo de copia. A mí no me interesa de dónde tu flow, así que deja la pereza. Bye. Escribí que eso da de tristeza.
All right, welcome to another Tuesday edition of the Jeff Mayweather Radio Show. I am Alexz Yzerman, and as always, joined by Jeff Mayweather, and we are pleased to be joined by also Carla J this evening. Carla and Jeff, how are you guys doing this evening?
Great, thanks.
How you doing, Jeff? Tell us a little bit before we bring on. We have a couple of really great guests tonight. We're going to be joined by boxing great Iran Barkley, as well as Matt Farrago, who is the founder of a great charity, Ring 10. We'll be joined by them in just one moment. Before we get to them, Jeff, tell us a little bit about your another doomed weekend there in Florida and what happened.
Their Gainer just made his comeback, made a comeback fight, and he won the fight within 5 rounds. I mean, it was basically more of an opponent, but Derek himself, he didn't really want an easy fight. He was supposed to fight a guy that was like 17-1, but the guy tried. They did that old bait and trick, whatever. I don't know how you call it, but anyway, the guy had agreed to fight him, signed the contract, and then maybe about 4 days before the fight, says, I need more money. And so it's one of those situations where it can kill a show, and that's what they were trying to do. But, fortunately, he had somebody on hold that he didn't really care to fight because he didn't want to fight, just an opponent. But he had to do what he had to do just to keep the show going. So it was productive and good turnout. So, and most importantly, he's back on track now.
Well, congratulations to him. You yourself, you sound a little sick. You under the weather?
No, I'm growing up. I'm starting to have a deep voice now.
It's in puberty. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and bring on our guests here. First, a boxing legend, guy who's accomplished so much in his career, obviously huge victories over Tommy Hearns, fought Roberto Duran in the fight of the year 1989, multiple titles in multiple weight divisions. Iran Barkley, welcome. Thanks for joining us on the Jeff Mayweather Radio Show.
Thanks for having me.
We're also joined by a guy you know pretty well, a founder of Ring 10, and also a former fighter himself, pretty good one at that, Matt Farrago. Matt, thanks for joining us as well.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, well, we'll get to the charity here in a little bit, Matt. Let's just start with you, Iran. Talk a little about your career, and then we'll get to the more recent things. First of all, Jeff, I'd asked him in an interview not too long ago with Steve Forbes. I asked him which fighter did they think had overachieved the most in their career, and they both said Iran Barkley. Jeff had said, it was more than just talent. You had, you had a will and a lot of guts. Jeff, first, let me ask you what you thought of Iran as a fighter, and then we'll get to Iran on those comments. So, Jeff, go ahead.
Well, I think Iran was a blood and guts fighter. He was a guy that fought with tremendous heart, and most importantly, had a will to, to give it his all, and never was in a bad fight. Never cheated the public, never cheated the boxing fans by giving them, not his best performance. Always at his best, and always gave his all. win, lose, or draw. I mean, you had to appreciate Iran Barkley.
Now, Iran, just wondering, I know Jeff's not the first one to say that. Does it bother you when people say that you didn't have a ton of talent, or do you consider it a compliment because when they say that maybe you didn't have the talent, they always follow it up with, but you had will and determination? So how do you take it when you hear things like that?
Well, I take that as a blessing. I just say, I've done all I've done. People didn't feel that I had this much of talent or whatever. I say, if that's so, you should have been in there with me then.
Well, now, the one guy that you definitely had to have talent and determination and guts was, of course, your signature victories in your career over Tommy Hearns. I met you this weekend at the WBC convention. I didn't want to talk to you because I grew up in Detroit, so reluctantly I spoke to you since you beat him, and I actually got a picture with both of you. But tell us about what it was like getting in the ring with him. You were the other guy. Everyone expected you to lose. What was it like beating him the first time, and then the second time when he did it again, which kind of validated your first victory, that it wasn't a fluke, that you really were the better fighter?
Well, Tommy was a great champion. I knew that everybody was going to say that I was this unknown guy that just came along and got a lucky punch, but there ain't no luck in boxing. I just proved to them to say, hey, it seemed so nice I had to do it twice.
Now, hey, Matt, I actually want to ask you a question because, I looked at your BoxRec stats, and you were a pretty decent boxer around the same time there. And in the same era, did you ever have any opportunity or any hope to fight someone like Iran at the time?
Oh, of course I did. The difference was I was a light middleweight. He was a solid middleweight. But I definitely was, I had my eyes on him, and then like any other fighter, I thought I could beat him. I wouldn't go into the ring unless I thought I could beat him. And I thought I could beat everybody because that was the way I was brought up, and that was my mentality when I was fighting. Any fighter that doesn't think he can win probably shouldn't be in the ring in the first place.
Right. And then, Iran, tell us about your other big fight. Unfortunately, this one you were on the wrong end of it, but it was still a spectacular fight. 1989 Fight of the Year, Roberto Duran, another legend. Tell us a little bit about that fight and how you felt about him, compared to the other greats of the division.
Well, I felt great about him, but I know that over the past year, Duran had fought one of my best friends, Davey Moore, and unfortunately he got thumbed in the eye and everything, and that kind of stuck with me. That I said, wow, this guy is a crafty fighter. He's slick. I said, but, he thumbed my man in the eye, and I said, I'm going to get him back for that. It took me 20 years to look at that, and I said, now I'm coming to fight him, and I'm saying, wow, here I am getting ready to fight this guy. And, Bob Arum just built it up by saying that, Duran, beat his friend Davey Moore, and, he knew that was going to be personal to me, so he just put it that way, and he knew that it was gonna affect me. But I kept my composure to keep going to, do what I had to do, and I know that I beat him, but Duran fought a great fight with me, a great legend, and, in spite of everything, I just said, hey, that's the way boxing goes.
I'm going to ask you one more question here, and then I'm going to let Carla J ask you a couple questions because I know she's waiting. You got to fight so many legends. You fought Hearns, you fought Duran, you got to fight James Toney, you fought Michael Nunn, who's who of fighting. But is there anybody that you really wish you had fought that you never got the chance to?
Yeah, Ray Leonard, but he was afraid to fight me. Ray Leonard and Marvin Hagler. They was afraid to fight me.
You think Marvin was afraid too?
Yeah, he took Ray Leonard. He was supposed to do that. He took Ray Leonard. That's where the money was.
Right. Do you think that's because you were kind of the prototypical, low risk, low reward? I mean, high risk, low reward fighter, where if they win, they're supposed to beat you, but they knew going in how tough you'd be, and they just were worried that it wasn't worth the risk.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
All
right, Carla, go ahead. I know you got a couple questions for him.
Well, actually, I want to stay on that subject. Were there ever any negotiations with either Ray Leonard or Marvin Hagler for, any type of fights? And maybe there was some dialogue before the Roberto Duran fight, and, there was a little intimidation after that war. Were there ever any discussions going on?
No, I was. Let me tell you, when I was in Miami doing the Roberto Duran fight, when we was leading up to that, Bob Arum told me, okay, after this fight here, whoever wins is going to be the big fight against Ray Leonard. Iran will be the, whoever should win this fight, he would be the, the winner to go ahead on the fight, Ray Leonard. I knew that was going to be a lie. You know what I'm saying? So I said, well, when after I fought Duran, they already had it, picked so my belt could be taken away. Duran fought a great fight, and, when it happens, that's the way boxing goes. You just move on to something else.
Mhm. There were a lot of people around the time that you fought Roberto Duran that felt like, I think Iran actually won this, but Roberto Duran was the bigger name. Do you see any similarities with any fight, any recent fights? Any similarities with any recent fight that have gone to decision that were similar to the fight that you had with Roberto Duran?
Yeah, it was like one or two fights that I could say, went to all right, Pacquiao had one like that, and they know how now you know how it felt. I'm saying, Arum know how it felt now. You know what I'm saying? When his cash cow got bumped out of the way. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
that's right.
What goes around comes around. So you either take it on the chin like a man and don't cry like a baby. Just get him another fight, get him another fight, a second chance like you going to do any old way. I didn't get no second chances. When I lost, that was it, one shot deal for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was supposed to be a top-ranked fighter.
That's right. Now, with Roberto Duran, and you had an opportunity to fight, you had an opportunity to fight Hearns twice. Which would you say was, kind of a highlight of your career?
Well, I would say Tommy was the highlight of my career. But I also say, why did I have to fight him twice, even though I know I could have beat him twice, but I was, when I fought Tommy the first time, that should have been it for Tommy. He should have been at the back of the line. But, being that he had, Arum, he was promoted by Bob Arum, he got the second shot right back quick, like less than another month or two or whatever, you know what I'm saying? They were saying, it was a lucky punch. I said, well, it ain't no luck in boxing. I'm going to beat him up for 12 rounds, and then I'm going to see what you got to say now. I beat him for 12 rounds. They said, oh, Tommy's old. Yeah, he's old, my foot. You know what I'm saying? Because I was the guy that was in there feeling the punches. So.
Mm-hmm. All right, I want to get, if we can here, Iran, a little more recently. I don't want to dwell too much or at all. It's well documented. You had some tough times. You were homeless at one point. Things are really seem to be turning around for you. So I'd like to focus on the current and start talking about Ring 10 a little bit. But first, you were here this weekend. The WBC had the big conference for the pension they're initiating. First, just on a personal level, before we get into the specifics, how was it seeing the guys? You saw Duran, you saw Hearns, these other guys. How did they treat you, and how do you get along with these guys today?
Well, I mean, I got respect for these guys. I got love for them. I mean, me and Duran is great friends, you know. Ray Leonard, always respect him like I always did. Hagler, I got respect for too. And it's no different, but I just know that I'm in that elite class with those guys, but I didn't get everything that these guys got, though.
Hey, Jeff, you know, what? Let me ask you, Jeff, as far as him, you know, what do you think kept him just a notch below of not getting quite the recognition these other guys had?
I mean, well, with Ray Leonard, of course, he had the Olympic, the darling child from the Olympics was one thing. Duran, I mean, was a great fighter, probably one of the greatest lightweights ever, who moved up, you know, countless weight classes, and to be honest, I was one of the few people that, I don't want to say a few people, but one of the people that actually thought that Duran had won that. I mean, that Barkley had won that fight as well. And I don't know, it was just the fact that, you know, they had much more name recognition than him, and basically at the end of the day, just like he said, when Tommy was able to get an immediate rematch, that was because Tommy was supposed to win, and things didn't turn out the right way, so automatically a guy that didn't supposed to win won, so now we got to knock him off, and move on after that. But unfortunately, it didn't happen that way. I mean, you know, Barkley had his number, you know, and but that's just boxing. I mean, boxing is a business as, you know, just like anything else. And when you have a guy that's a marquee name, of course, I mean, he's out there, he generates capital for the promoter, you know, and it's one of those things where I say Barkley is a blue-collar fighter. You know, he wasn't a fighter that was, you know, had the huge following, the huge backing. He was a guy who actually earned everything the hard way. You know, anything that he got, he earned it, you know, by fighting. You know, unlike a lot of the guys out in boxing, of course, I mean, they can be marketed, if they can be marketed right, if they have, you know, a story. You know, like a Delaware, he had a story. He had a gold medal, you know, his mother died, and he won the medal for his mom, and of course, it goes on and on and on, you know, and I mean, same thing. That's the business of boxing, you know, and sometimes, like I say, you have fighters that are just as good as some of these fighters that are considered great or that are considered, you know, the marquee fighters, but you got to have something. You got to have something that makes the people want to rally behind you, whether it is marketing, whether it is, you know, sometimes it's based on looks, sometimes it's, I mean, there's so many different things that, you know, that's relegated in boxing, especially when it comes to promotion and being, you know, becoming a star in the sport. You know, and like I said, sometimes if you don't have that push behind you, you're a 9-to-5 fighter. That's what I call it. You're not going to be a star, but you're going to be a great fighter, but you're never going to get what is it I'm looking for? The status that you probably deserve.
Right. All right, Matt, let's bring you in here, Matt. How did you guys get involved first with Iran, and explain how the whole process worked with you guys getting started?
I've been a part of a retired boxing organization for 20-something years when I formed Ring 10, because I wanted to do things the right way, and so we did. We were helping fighters, and then we got the phone call that Iran needs help. We had a couple guys that lived local to where Iran was. They found them. We kind of, you know, took them in and found them living quarters. We got them some social services. We set them up with a TV and cable, and that was just to get them going. See, our goal is not to provide an income for these fighters for the rest of their lives. That's not what we do. We're not a handout charity. We want to get them back on their feet. We want to get them back self-supporting. And so we got Iran. We tried to hustle him some work, some whatever we can get him, security work, anything like that, to get him some kind of an income coming in. We've taken care of his finances with his social services, and he's doing very well. You agree, Iran?
Yeah.
Iran, you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, good. You're doing pretty good now, I think, right?
Yeah, I'm coming along. Yeah.
Good. So
Iran, how did?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say, he's part of our organization. Now that we helped him, we've taken him in, and he's part of our organization as any other member. And actually, he's headed for possibly a board of directors. We'd like to bring him into the board of directors.
Wow.
But so he's doing actually very well, and there are quite a few other fighters out there that we're working on to help them, whether they join Ring 10 or not. We're still trying to get them off their, off the floor on their feet and get them self-supporting, because that's what we do.
Now, Iran, how did that feel for you? Because you obviously you had a career, a great career. You're famous. You had money. You had fame. Then you hit hard times. How did it feel getting involved with Ring 10? And did you feel at that point that after your career was over that that you had nobody out there caring for you? And what did it mean to you when they got involved helping you out?
I mean, it was great, but I felt that, see, God blessed me with those who was around me and where to go, So when I fell on hard times, it felt like nobody was around, but then Mr. B came out, then Matt came out, then the rest of the team came out, and they was like, yo, come on. I mean, I've been going to a school, working with kids at Villa Maria, and I never in my wildest dreams expected these young kids from that school to come back, and the teachers that was in that school, to come back and say, hey, this guy helped us, let's help him. You know what I'm saying? So, it was a blessing, from God, and, being that everything that I was going through just like crashed down. Most guys would have lost their mind or did something crazy. But I didn't, I had the good strength of God, and just said, yo, God just blessed me with some people that was around me, that attended to me, got me working on my feet, got me guided in the right way, and here I am today,
Hey, Jeff, to ask you, you've been involved in the sport for over 60 years now. Is his story something that's pretty similar, or is it something you've seen a lot in the gym? Fighters that have had hard times that could use it, organizations like Ring 10 or pension funds or whatever help them out.
Is that for me?
Yeah, that was for you. I said, Jeff.
Oh, okay. No, I mean, just
because I said over 60 years, you did. Go ahead.
The one thing with boxing is it's kind of unique in a sense. It's kind of like being like an entertainer. I mean, you're responsible for your taxes and making sure that everything is taken care of. But sometimes as a fighter, if you're not really educated on it or have someone that you can trust that can actually do it for you, it kind of makes it tough, because the thing is this: you fight for $1.5 million, you get a check that say $1.5 million. It don't say on that check that you need to give at least $300,000 or $400,000 to the IRS. It don't say that. It has no instructions on that check. All that check says you got $1.5 million, and once you start spending, next thing you know, you say to yourself, well, I'm going to take care of the next time. But with the next time you already have a balance that you haven't paid of $400,000. So now you fight for $1.5 million again, you have that same balance. Now you got $800,000. So it becomes like a snowball, turn. The more you make, the more you owe the IRS. But it's one of those things that you never took the time to sit down and figure out that this is what should be done before I even get my check. You know, and it's
I think it's hard for. Oh, go ahead, Jeff. Finish.
No, because when you have a regular job, you have a regular 9 to 5. They take your taxes out your check for you, so you never have that problem.
Right.
You know, so the government's not going to come running after you because you didn't pay your taxes. You know, and it's a little different when, you know, you have a lot of the fighters that come from, you know, not necessarily come from the ghetto or anything like that, because that's not the story. That's one of those stories and one of those myths that's been created about boxing. It's not all about that. One thing about boxing is that, you know, you have people that come from all walks of life. And, you know, but I come from a background of poverty, you know, and they fight their way out to it and to become successful. But along the way, they're not educated about, you know, the tax thing. And that's the biggest downfall when it comes to fighters, that they don't have, you know.
Yeah, go ahead.
What do all fighters have in common that no other athletes have in common? All, you know, baseball, football, basketball, almost all other professional sports have something in common that boxers do not have. And that's have,
what is it? The pension. A pension, yeah, insurance and all that other stuff, that's true. But the main thing is that they don't have, that all other athletes do have, is what is their breeding ground? What is their training ground before the pros?
Oh, we have minor league, they enter college and that kind of thing.
College. Right? I mean, how many guys go from high school right to the pros? They're the exceptions. The majority of them go from college to the pros. Or, you know, most pro sports go from the college to the pros. They come out with some degree. Fighters do not have that. They don't have that. So they come out, once their career is over and everybody walks away, they have nothing left. And they don't have the education and the training on what to do with the money that they do have. They think it's going to continue to come in. It's not a residual business. And so when it ends, when your career is over, it's over. If you haven't planned for this, that's where sometimes, like Iran, it just doesn't keep coming in, and if it goes out faster than it's coming in, it bellies up at some point. At some point, it's got to zero out. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to teach the younger guys and prepare them for when they do have to retire, you know, prepare for it. And we're also trying to get them a pension fund, medical. We've been working on this forever. But we're getting close now, especially with the WBC in Las Vegas. They're really making a stand to get some kind of help for these fighters. A lot of those guys that we grew up with when we were young, you know, Wilfred Benitez and guys like that, a lot of those guys are just, they're all spent out. Financially, they're all broke, and mentally, physically, they're pretty shot. And they have nothing. They're, you know, managers, trainers, they've all walked away and left them alone to fend for themselves. They're not trained to do that. And so they're out in society now. They only know fighting and using their hands. And they don't have any crafts to fall back on. So they're in trouble. So that's where we come in.
Yeah, we just have a couple minutes left. Tell us, you know, specifically about a couple of the people you're working with. I saw on your website there, because, you know, I think people don't realize how tough it is for a lot of them and how hard the life has, you know, become for a lot of them. They just, you know, you kind of just, people fade away and we forget about them and we don't realize, you know, the situations they are. So I know you're working with people like Joe McClellan and Wilfred Benitez and stuff. So, you know, for a couple moments, tell us about those guys and the specifics of what you're doing with them.
Well, Wilfred Benitez, one of the greatest welterweight champions of the world ever. He was lightning fast. He's about a year and a half older than me, and if you look him up on the internet, just his name, you'll see a YouTube video of him. He's in real bad shape, physically, mentally. He's in very bad shape. He gets a small stipend from the government of Puerto Rico. He lives in a house with his sister, who's got to take care of him almost 24 hours a day, and he's in pretty bad shape. So we send them money that is geared towards medicine, food, and some personal things that I don't really want to discuss, but things that most normal people at 51 don't need until their 80s or 90s.
Right.
And we take care of them that way. Gerald McKellum, what I did was I set up a food account at a local food store for him. Gerald was a great, great fighter. When he passed out in the, I think it was the 11th round against Nigel Benn overseas, and he ended up in a coma. He's blind and he's 80% deaf. After the initial, we're going to take care of him and don't worry, he'll be set for life, most people walked away from him, and he was left with nothing in a prison in his own body because he's, like I said, he's blind and 80% deaf. So he's a champion of the world now stuck in his body. So we set up this food account so they can take out food every week, and they get $1 amount. They fax me the receipts. Not that I need to take, check on them, but just so that we're all in sync together. And they're ecstatic that it's making a world of difference for both fighters. I get calls from their caretakers all the time thanking us and asking us if this is going to continue because they're so gracious and so happy that it's coming in. They just want to make sure that it's going to continue coming in. So as long as I'm part of Ring 10, I will continue to do this, and hopefully it'll grow. We need donations all the time. The good thing is that we are a legitimate 501c3. We're tax deductible, and 100%, not 99.5%, but 100% of the money that we take in go to the fighters. We don't have any expenses for the board members or anything like that. 100% of the money goes directly, indirectly to a fighter or somebody in need in the fight game.
Matt, just real quick, how can people contribute to Ring 10 if they're interested in doing so?
That's great. Great question. The best way to do it, I could tell you the address and everything else, but it's going to go right over too quickly. Go to ring10ny for New York.com. So it's ring10ny.com. You'll see all our events. You'll see our big fundraiser we just had about a month ago. We had Bone Crusher Smith, Livingstone Bramble, Michael Lagier, Iran Barkley, Doug DeWitt. We had a whole bunch of champions that contributed their time and effort just to help us raise money. So we're growing. Go to ring10ny.com. You'll see the address and the where to click to send in a check. And like I said, we're tax deductible, so it's a legitimate 501c3.
Wonderful.
And also, if you missed if you don't have a pen or whatever, we put a link up on Pro Boxing Insider. We have a banner on the right-hand side. You'll see the Ring 10 logo. You can click on there, and it'll take you right to the site to learn more. Guys, we're out of time here, but thanks so much for joining us. Anything else before you go, Matt, to say about your great charity and the great things you're doing?
No, it's a good feeling. Our whole group, like I said, our group, most of them are fighters or connected to a fighter. We just like helping out the guys that need the help. It's sad that the organization that made money off them do not contribute back once they retire. So we appreciate any help that's given by the public, and we want to thank anybody that wants to contribute.
Well, anything we can do in the future, let us know. Carl, anything you got to add?
You know what? I did have another question for Iran, but you know what? We'll wait till next time.
Hurry
Maybe
up.
That'll be
Go ahead. You can answer real quick.
Really? You know what? When you guys were talking about medical and talking about the other fighters that you all support, one of the things that came to mind was a recent documentary I saw, and James Toney was actually featured, and it had to do with the long-term effects of the sport and, how it affects the pituitary gland and, with all the continued head trauma, et cetera. Do you all see that, that particular trait or that particular issue or concern with a number of boxers? And, Iran, do you find, and Matt, you can chime in too because you're around him regularly, do you find that that's something that, you kind of, day-to-day see that that's had an effect on you?
Well, I see, basically, mainly when trauma happens like that, it took over years of fighters to for that to happen, to get affecting and everything. I look like Emil Griffith sometimes. As he got older, Emil was fine at one time, and then quicker than anything, he just went into like a wing, you know, and now he's not fine, and everybody says, oh, this is from the years of fighting and everything. I mean, yeah, it takes a toll and an effect on your body, your mind, and everything, but, you know, this is the sport that we in. This is the thing that comes about, and if we could minimize and try to let them figure out a way that we could do this kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, but this is not a safe. You know, this has got a lot of head trauma and everything. So, you know, only thing I can say is that this is the blessing and the game that God prompted us to do. And my faith is with God, and I can't leave it no other way. But I respect all my warriors and fellow fighters that's been going through all of this kind of stuff. I pray for them, and I ask God that, you know, to keep me and hold me the way I gotta be. I mean, that's all I could do, because it's a brutal sport, but it's an unforgiving sport too. When you sad to see your warrior friends go to thing where these promoters made all this money off your back and managers, and they don't come to your aid, and they don't even say hi to you no more or get to see. They just talk about how great you are. I don't want to hear about nobody talking about me, how great I am when I'm 80 years old and I can't hear it and can't see and can't feel it and don't know which. I'm confused and everything. I mean, I don't think you know, it's hard, you know, but this is what we do.
Iran, in closing, summarize in one word, Bob Arum.
What about him?
Can you summarize him in one word?
A liar, a cheat, and, you know, I don't know, you know, I mean, not, you know, things like that. And, you know, in a way, he sometimes got a good heart. Some things I went through that, you know, they paid for, but, you know, I mean, but really, they, you know, this is the way it is.
But we're up against it, guys. Sorry. Iran, really was an honor to have you on. We really appreciate it. It's great to hear things are turning around for you. Real quick, do you have a Twitter, Facebook page, or anything like that people can follow you on? Or
well, I don't do all the Facebook, but I do got a page on Facebook. You know, that my family, you know, they interact and run that for me. But I don't believe on being on Facebook and stuff. I believe, like, if you want to talk to me, you know, you'll find a way to get in touch with me to talk to me.
Well, we're very happy we were able to, and it was great having you on the show. We really appreciate your time and hearing about your story and all of the great things Ring 10 are doing. Jeff, real quick, tell us anything you got going on or anything you want to say in closing.
Not really. Yo.
All right, well, Carla, Matt, Iran, again, thanks a lot, guys. Really appreciate having you on. Have you back on any time. You got anything going? Someone saying something?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
Jeff. When it comes time, have Floyd get in touch with me, man.
Okay.
Have Floyd or Roger to get in touch with me.
Okay.
All right, guys. Well, we're out. We got literally no time left here, so thanks so much, and appreciate it. And join us again next week, next Tuesday. A great show, guys. Thanks so much.
Got it. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.